Okay. Thanks a lot for starting that. Today, because of my fetching, we are using another service, StreamYard, for the meeting. But thanks everyone who joined. So, agenda for today, I guess we want to discuss some news preparation to CNCF incubation and also Google Summer of Code projects. Are there any other topics you would like to add on the agenda?
Yeah, I put something on the Word doc just around the documentation and the tutorials and how they're arranged on the site.
Hmm. Oh, I see that.
I also had a question about logging standards throughout all of the sandbox and I guess services.
Um, yeah, I didn't follow that.
Sorry, I just had a question around any strategy around standardizing on the way that we do logging throughout each of the repos.
Yeah, I don't think that we have any strategies right now, but it's definitely something we could discuss and maybe put some best practices in. Because now whomever develops the service, they're responsible for the logging. And well, just thanks to them if logging is present, which is not always the case.
Yeah, the reason I brought it up is because there's different ways through every single sort of service I've seen, and maybe a strategy, even for new services, a good practice for structured logging would be beneficial.
Yeah, and I guess in the same regards, we also may want to discuss open telemetry integration for services, because in theory they should be submitting data to open telemetry. In practice, many of them they don't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is, one of the straightforward ways would be to actually have it a part of the framework, or maybe some examples and developer documentation. But the question is, do we already have good examples of logging in the services so that we could point users to?
There is, but it's sort of debatable. I think it's a bit of a debate because you have things like Logros, which is sort of, it's not maintained anymore, but it's still used by a lot of open source projects. So, and they have Zap, like the one that I think Uber uses. So I guess it's a debate of going forward, which one we want to choose.
Yeah. So personally, I think that we should use any standard format, of course, and we should include the login libraries and examples right inside the SDK. So, for example, we have Golang template, Python template, and for this template, I believe we should include login by default.
Yeah, yeah, and just the same structure as well would be nice.
Yeah. So basically, my question: do we have an example of service that does login right at the moment? So, for example, Prometheus service, Jmeter service, whatever.
I can find it while we're talking.
Mm. Because if so, I can write up a quick developer doc. Because right now we just don't have a section for developer documentation at all. Maybe it could be one of the use cases from which we could start building it. Mike, what do you think?
Yes, that's definitely on my list. I think we have a couple of pages in the current doc. I can open up developer doc right now, and then we can get it as an empty one, and then you can write your stuff into it or give me what you want, and I'll write it up.
Yeah.
Good time. Let's get the developer doc going. I like that.
Yeah, and my suggestion would be to just have it on the top level so that without versioning for now.
I agree.
And probably if Rajiv's documentation engine is ready, we could start actually doing it right for this engine.
Yep. What do you want for title? Developer guide, developer documentation,
Just I think developer guide would be nice.
developer guide.
But
Okay.
yeah, so basically how we could organize it. So we could create a repository or whatever, so that we put content there, and then Rajiv's tool collects it, so that it gets posted on the website. But for now, it could be just a bunch of README pages for us, maybe with some markup, and then we test this multi-repository thing while we go.
Okay. Let me take a look, and actually, the couple of pages that I think belong in there, I'll put in there, and you can check that out on the PR. Tell me if I chose something I shouldn't have.
So basically, we agree to start the repository for the developer guide, right?
Right. And what I'm thinking of is most of the pages that are under custom integrations probably go in there.
Maybe. So under custom integrations, maybe maybe I misunderstand it, because we have documentation for service templates. We have some documentation for developing webhook and job executor service based steps. That's
You mean
something
we
that,
have stuff written up that's in the software repositories, not in the documentation set, right?
yeah.
Okay. And then let's grab. So I'm talking about what's currently in the documentation set. I will put over there, and then let's create issues for. I mean, there's the stuff that's in the software repos and some stuff people want just to have there, but let's make a list of where we've got pieces in the software repos that need to turn into docs, and
Okay.
some of those would actually be some good first issues, and we're light on good first issues right now.
I agree. So I will probably write up some structure and create a ticket for that. So just to have initial developer documentation guide, and then we can review it there.
Excellent. I'm thinking I should just set this up in 0.17. We won't try to go live with it in 16. We'll put it in 17, and then we got a couple of weeks to play.
I don't think we should put it anywhere in versions. I think we should put it in a separate repository at all outside Keptn GitHub.io, and use Rajiv's engine for prototyping the website, and meanwhile keeping it in a separate documentation repo.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm not
Do you
sure.
agree or not? Because when I said it first time, you seem to agree, and then
Yeah, unless we're going to leave the documentation in the software set and just pull it in, that I could see. But having a separate tree for the developer documentation, my concern is when you do that, you end up with it using different tools and stuff gets out of sync, and it ends up the developer doc isn't as good as the other doc. It doesn't, but I'm amenable to whatever other. What does everybody else think?
Sorry, repeat the question. So is it should
so
sorry.
yeah, basically what I propose that we start developer documentation, targeting the new documentation engine being developed by Rajiv as a part of GSOC, and for that we target multi-repository approach. So instead of putting everything in Keptn GitHub.io, etc., we built the structure that Rajiv could consume and include into the documentation side, but we develop it separately for the moment.
Yeah.
So basically just a repository with a bunch of markdown, and maybe for some items, let's say for Go service template, using documentation right from that location, from that repository.
Yeah, it probably makes a smarter approach just to do it in one repo to start with as we migrate into. Otherwise, it's too much work.
Well, Rajiv needs some sample repositories, etc., to play with. So why don't I think that we can just have it as one of the examples.
Yeah. Cool.
So what do we do about the little bit of developer documentation that's currently in Keptn GitHub.io?
I will create a ticket for moving it over. So basically, what I'll do, I'll create a ticket or maybe a cap describing the structure, and then we review it because it's difficult to reach the consensus when we talk.
Okay.
Does it work for you, Mike?
Yeah, well, let's see how it goes. I mean, I'm concerned because it's great that we can pull stuff in, but the more stuff gets spread between repos, my experience is the messier it gets. And
But
that we
isn't
can make
what we want to do it for documentation as code?
Well, is Keptn GitHub.io, do you consider that documentation as code?
No, I don't.
Okay. Yeah.
It's documentation in the repository. For me, documentation as code is when documentation is stored aligned with production code base.
Okay.
So, for example, if you have documentation for Prometheus service, it's stored in the Prometheus service. So, whomever does a modification in the service, they expect to write documentation in the same pull request. And then basically it gets delivered to the website as needed, but the source code is near the production code.
Okay, well, that's different. That's what I said. If it's a separate repo just for the developer guide, I'm really uncomfortable with that. Yes, if it's co-located with the software, I can see a point. But let's look at the specifics and evaluate it.
Okay.
My concern is another project that we've both been involved with that has the developer guide completely separate, and it doesn't work the same. It doesn't look the same. It's a mess. It doesn't get the same attention. It's not as good. And
okay, so okay, then I will create probably a cap and VC. And sorry for this long detour.
cool.
That's fine. It's good to hear.
Okay. Brett, did you have a chance to find examples? Because, well, when you find them, just put them somewhere.
So, for example, I selected one for the Datadog service, and I was looking through the Prometheus service just then, but it's different. So I guess it's a good example of them being different and not standardized. But generally, they use Logos throughout the code base for Go. All I'm talking about. Not maybe Adam, you know more about the Python because you do a lot of the Python stuff as well. But I doubt there's structure there.
No, you're right. There's not at all. There's no structure.
Yeah, I just noticed it and then thought it's worth bringing up here just to put in the back of our heads. Just for in general throughout the whole. I mean, if we're claiming to be, experts in observability and we can't even log, then it's probably embarrassing, right?
Yeah, well, until logs properly get into OpenTelemetry, get categorized properly, and get visualized properly with all integration with traces, we suck at logging.
Yeah, and even like tools and libraries aside, if we don't even have a structure set up, then that's a problem.
Well, yeah, I can say that from my experience with Keptn startup, we have close to zero observability of what the heck happens with Keptn on startup and why it takes so long. So definitely, if someone wants to work on making Keptn observable, there is a lot of things to do. Yeah, we just need to challenge someone with that. Actually, it could be a good LFX project, maybe not on, but yeah, maybe we just need to integrate the framework first.
Yeah.
Because for me, OpenTelemetry should be integrated as a part of Keptn Core.
Yeah.
Let's create tickets. This is what I can do. be sure I can write some code. I get time for that. Okay. So, anything else about logging before we move on?
Not all good.
Okay. So there was a topic about documentation, a quick start page, and broken tutorials. Should we return back to that?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. So I'll just share my screen and sort of talk it through, if I can.
Okay. Go for it. I'm just using my laptop to use edit meeting notes, so I cannot share my screen because it would be completely useless anyway.
Have you got that?
Yep.
Cool.
Yes.
So thinking as a kind of first time Keptn user, I hit the website. I've heard about Keptn. I hit the website, and I've got two big calls to action: quick start and install Keptn. And then I scroll down a little bit, and I've got start now or read the docs. So they're the four sort of places I could go. Now, quick start and install Keptn both go. If you see when I'm hovering over, they both go to the quick start page. So they both go to the same link, which is a bit redundant for me. But then so does the start now. So that's the first thing. We've got 3 buttons on the homepage that go to the same place. Now, that's a small issue, easily fixed. But the bigger one is I get to this quick start page, and ignoring the specific text about 5 minutes, which I don't think it is 5 minutes, but I get Helm, which is great. That works. And then it jumps me to multi-stage delivery. So I've installed and I want to get going. And actually, this doesn't work. So this is for an old. It hasn't been maintained. This is for an older version of Keptn. There are a couple of different issues. One, this doesn't auth the CLI. It's actually up here. You need to authenticate the CLI first. But even then, the Keptn trigger delivery and the Keptn create project don't include the new Git upstream requirement. So basically, that shell script is out of date for the later Keptns now. That said, so as a new user, I would come on here and I would be excited. I'd want to use it, and I'd get to a certain point and I'd just be blocked. So then I'd probably come on Slack and start asking questions. There is this page, though, the Explore Keptn page, which links to the new Killer Coder tutorial, and then it goes on to install. So basically, what I'm saying is, could we just retire this quick start page and use this one instead? Because this seems to me to be the new quick start.
Oh, he's just dropped out, but I'll tell you when he's back in.
Okay.
He's just gone off the stream. But yeah, it's interesting you found those buttons. I wonder how many other people found that.
Yeah. Because for me, if I was to go from the home page to this page, I could say, right, the Keptn end-to-end delivery, blah, blah, blah. I click there and I get the Killer Coder, the browser version. And then when I'm finished and I go, I like Keptn, here's how I install it. And here's the Helm command again. So I've got that's my sort of happy path, if you will. And then if I get stuck, I can join Slack. But definitely this one, you're going to install Helm. This Docker run command, we should probably get rid of that. But yeah. The shell script doesn't work. That's as simple as that. So I wonder how many people are actually attempting that and saying, "Oh, well, it doesn't work. I'm just gonna move on."
Well, they will. Like even if it's such a hard tool to pick up, to get your head around all those concepts, like even shipyard and creating the project.
And the new Killer Coda tutorial exercise is really nice. It's takes about 45 minutes to get through. But when you get through it, you actually learn something. I mean, the old quick start, you really didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
And I spent all my time trying to get everything working. And with Killer Coda, Adam did some beautiful work, and you click a button and sit there and watch stuff scroll by for about 3 minutes, and you're all set up.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
yeah, and he's even done it so that while you're waiting for that 3 minutes, he's got a little something for you to read. I think that's where he says, you've got, here we've got stages, and stages have sequences, and you've got a project. He gives a little bit of introduction. You start to get the terminology. When you get through doing this, you actually have learned a little something. So
I
I
can't
think
take all the
that's
credit, by the way. A lot of this was Afzal and yourself, so please don't give me
okay.
all the
So
credit
we were a good team,
unnecessarily.
the three of us together, but you did some of the most magical stuff. Yeah. So
But I think the overarching point, one, all roads lead to that quick start page, which is broken effectively as of the current version, and we have a better option that is working, that is maintainable, and also it does away with all of those installation issues because there's a myriad different options for Kubernetes distributions, and as you say, you spend a lot of time figuring out which one works with most of them should, but um, I'm a fan of getting people started as quickly as possible, and a quick start to me, the killer code is just the way forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mm, at the same time, we cannot make killer code a default way until we get sorted financial topics, like providing stable access for a number of users with sessions, with wait queue, for example. And this is something we need to work on. So before we make Katakoda the only version, like Mac suggested a few days ago, we need to actually ensure that this way remains stable from the infrastructure standpoint. Once we do that, I totally agree with you, Adam, that we should make it a default way, because the only other option is to pin a quick start to all the version of Keptn and maintain it like that, which is probably feasible, but it doesn't provide the best experience.
So Killer Coda, under my understanding, is they're offering those resources. There's sort of a free tier. They provide those now. What questions? What information do we need from the Killer Coda team to make that decision about yes, it's stable enough?
Um, so I'm not too concerned about Kill Folder being stable enough. As long as they remain in the business, we are fine.
Yeah.
And I guess with the recent shutdown of Katakoda, they will have enough customers and goodwill from the industry. Uh, what I would expect is firstly ensuring that free tariff is enough for us, which is probably not. And if so, securing budget so that we can provide a good experience for our users.
Yeah.
Because there are multiple examples. So, for example, you want to host a workshop for Keptn, and then you need 30 seats to try out Keptn, and then can be done in Katakoda too, or Killer Coda.
Yeah.
Another use case, we just keep it on the website. The users connect. They can do it from our account, or they can copy the template and do it from their account. But it still requires some financial aspect behind it. So this is what I would like to get sorted, so that we don't assume that we scale infinitely with free tariff, because we won't.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit tough because they don't offer statistics for the free tier. But even so, we don't have any idea of how many people were going through the normal tutorial anyway. So we can't go to them and say we usually get 100 people a day or whatever the figure. We don't have those figures. So
Yeah, so what one of the things we could just talk to Kill Code team directly, say that yeah, we would like to set it up. Whether you would be interested to collaborate with us in a pilot project and see what would be the conditions. because we could show a good examples of killer coder being used in the CNCF, which is a good growth opportunity for them. And it's something that we can negotiate. It's something that we can explore together. But yeah, it might not be that trivial as I expect. Though I expect that we can set it up.
Okay, Meg, I think Afzal's got a contact over there, or he was kind of reaching out to them because he Afzal got it listed on the Killer Coder homepage. So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
that's yeah.
Cool.
Did
We
you
actually
say,
should
Adam?
promote it.
Are you keeping? Do you have some estimate as to how many people have accessed Killer Coda since it's been up?
I don't, and well, I think any statistics that we could get would be false because, well, not false, but misleading because of the positioning and because of the way the website currently kind of drives you to the quick start. I don't think many people are even finding the Killer Coda.
Yeah.
We can announce it through social media, actually, like Killer Code already did. But yeah, this is why I suggested that we work closely with their team so that we can evaluate it in a managed environment. So basically, a pilot project. Yes, we start highlighting killer coders, see whether we scale enough. If so, what is the cost implications? What is the user experience implications? And then we can gradually switch towards the only solution. But now I just suggest it to list it as one of the options.
Could we at least put the Killer Coda as an option on the quick start so that at least when you get to that page there is that option?
Yes, this is what I suggested to Meg, and this is what I believe we agreed on.
Okay, so, and I was anxious. I went ahead and merged what we had. So what do we want? When you go into quick start,
I'll share the screen
what do we
again.
say? This doesn't work. This is broken, but we don't have the heart to take it down. That doesn't work.
No,
Do
we
we
need
just
to
say
take down
you might
what
want to
is.
try Killer Coda, or go to this one instead?
So do we just sort of put it up the top here somewhere, like after the before Helm, or maybe down here? I'd actually like to retire the Kind Captain if we can get Killer Coda working. The Kind Captain was a stopgap solution, really.
Okay.
Because the Hello World is great, but it doesn't really provide any real value. It doesn't show the strength of Captain to me in its full glory. And then next steps you get there, and as we've discussed, that doesn't work. So anyway, I don't want to chew up the rest of the meeting discussing about this. We can take it offline.
But I think that we all agree that we want to have Killer Coda promoted more and to get it adopted. You also need to develop more tutorials because currently Killer Coda doesn't show the full value of Keptn either. And this is something we can work on.
What I'm curious what you think is missing there, Oleg.
Oh, well, I think that we need to have use cases like progressive delivery, auto remediation, etc.
They're both
there.
at the moment.
Both are there.
Yeah.
Then maybe some examples which would be more specific tools like using Keptn with Argo CD, using Keptn with Jenkins. So all these tutorials which are long forgotten because nobody has powers to maintain them.
Yeah.
But with Killer Code again, we could package it and show it with some practical examples.
Yeah, agree. But someone's got to maintain those. So
Yeah,
someone's got to put the
I'm
hook up
trying
and
to
own them.
figure out. I mean, I see at the front to get started and a little tutorial like what we've got, but how is the tutorial superior to the documentation that actually gives steps? If you want to do this, you need to do this and this and this and this. Or we could even have a video demonstration. We could do things that are not as resource intensive just to maintain. I mean, if we're going to have, let's say we have 10 tutorials out there, and they each have to be retested and probably modified for each release, and we have a new release once a month. I mean, this is, we need a full-time person who just does nothing but tutorials at that point.
So you have to separate tutorials and demos, because if you want to have show demo to showcase some Keptn features for your information, then we don't even have to maintain the latest Keptn version there. And at least not every month we update it as we see feasible. And this is actually one of the purposes of tutorials, to just show the value of Keptn to users. And there, for demos, I wouldn't care too much. And the rest is actually tutorials, guides, which are version specific. And for that, if you want to have them, we will have to maintain them.
Okay,
But
and you don't mention what is the role of documentation in all this?
documentation is a place where you can see tutorials. I don't think that. So for me, I know that there is difference between tutorial and guide, but personally, I do not care as a user. As long as there is some information when I need it, I'm fine, whatever it's called.
Yeah. So now what I would like is I would like some more advanced tutorials. Like I would like a good long, like 45-minute tutorial of creating good SLOs. I think that would be a powerful tutorial.
But would you be ready to maintain it on a monthly basis?
Well, that's an issue for all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot that can be done with like detailed technical videos or that go with the doc. The docs say you do this, 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 and this, and throw up a video. Yeah. Big issues. I mean, if we had a cast of thousands dedicating to this, there's wonderful things, but what is the most effective use of our resources becomes the question. And I think we're gonna have to figure that out as we go forward, probably.
Okay.
Okay.
But basically, we have an agreement that we put killer code on this page.
I will do the PR soon after we get off this call and post it to Keptn Docs for anybody who wants to review it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, shall we go to the next on the agenda?
Sounds
I
good.
guess so.
What's up?
So the next is Keptn incubation, right?
Yep.
So quick update, I submitted all the information to the CNCF. So now CNCF needs to prepare the blog posts, announcements, and after that they will come back to us so that we set a date for announcements. When it happens, I don't know. I'm not sure how long it takes the CNCF to prepare, but yeah, the ball is on their side. Once we have this date with the CNCF, we will also communicate with all other stakeholders. So whomever wants to participate in the announcements, like blog posts, etc., please feel free to prepare already. But the date for publishing is unknown. At the same time,
Exciting.
Sorry?
I just said it's exciting.
No, it wasn't decided.
No, exciting. Like it's exciting that it's going to be announced.
Okay. Yeah. So I hope it doesn't happen in mid-July when basically nobody is redoing announcements anyway, especially in Europe. But let's see. something on our side. If it falls on July, I will probably ask to postpone it until second half of August. But yeah, this is a separate story. We still need to prepare, and we have some bits to do. And yeah, for example, European, he prepared meet the crew videos. So if someone wants to have a meet the crew video with them, it's probably one of opportunities how you could prepare to the announcements because we would get more content.
Yeah.
So right now there is no blockers there. Another related topic, we still have Keptn security audit, which got quite slow, but I will keep pushing that. And basically that's it for incubation. There will be also a huge checklist of things we need to do as a project. Something are easy, some things are quite hard, like transferring the project infrastructure to the CNCF. So it will also take a significant amount of my time next year, starting from September, I guess. But it's something we will need to do if we ever want to reach the graduating status. Meanwhile, I rather prefer to focus on the community, on features, than on these formalities. So I will be postponing them as much as possible. And I guess that's it. So, any questions, comments?
From do we what are the sort of I'm completely new to it, so what are the benefits of being that status versus, or do we get any extra resources or promotion or?
So, first of all, we are considered as the CNCF member project because sandbox projects are not considered CNCF members. What it means in practice, we get access to all Linux Foundation infrastructure like LFX tools, including LFX security. We get access to their computing grids if needed, the issue trackers if needed, etc., etc. Most of that we don't need. Then we get access to their marketing team, not just PR for this campaign, but for the rest. We're eligible to request, let's say, Keptn community days, etc. at KubeCon. Generally, have a bigger representation there. So this is what we are already going to do for North America. Though I still need to confirmation whether we would have a Keptn community day.
Oh,
It
sounds
seems.
fantastic. Yeah.
Mhm. And yeah, for me, it's rather status thing because once we are incubating project, we can make a point that yeah, we are some industry proven project with say
Yeah.
backing of the CNCF, and it's definitely not the case for a sandbox project.
Makes sense.
Mhm. So basically,
Yeah.
that's it.
What's next?
And there was a topic for GSOC, but yeah. So just quick update. Yeah, we started coding period, so all 4 projects started coding here or there. So I checked with students, with mentors. Nobody said there is anything missing for the coding period. But if you see something like that in your projects, please highlight it. So Brett, Adam, Meg, you're all mentors. And how other projects are going for you?
Who wants to go first? You want to go first, Meg?
There, you hear me better if I unmute. Yeah, the documentation engine seems to be starting. I think we may have something that we can start looking at by the time of the next community meeting. Rajiv has started. He's got a prototype up, and we're looking at that as what we want it to look like. And going to start putting some of the current documentation over there just so we see it a little more real. So all seems to be going well for now on the doc engine.
And how is Key6 integration going, Adam?
Yeah, good. We've sort of step one was to get it running with the job executor service, which we've got, and we've got a video of that demo, which is on YouTube. Step two, I'm just having a look. I've been off sick for a few days, but we had a call with Pepe, the DevRel from K6, and we're thinking about how to build the extensions into K6 and how best to do that. So seems good. Seems like it's on track, and I'm hopeful for some good progress.
Okay, thank you. And Brad?
Yeah, our one's going really well. We've started coding and we've been playing around with Flux and getting the event sent in. I've made a small Go app just to receive the payload because it doesn't support generic posts yet. So I'll probably put a proposal into Flux for me to do a lot of coding in the notification controller. So I'm going to start gathering requirements for that because at the moment we have an app that sits in the middle, but ideally we want to change it at the Flux level. So at the moment I'm gathering a proposal to present to them, and then hopefully I can make it so I can send a cloud event instead.
Cloud events or CD events?
Well, probably cater for both, really. I mean, what I heard at the CDCon that Keptn was considering having a specification from cloud event, from CD events, or you were going to do your own thing. Does that make sense?
So what we are discussing, CD events is not enough for Keptn because we have a bunch of other events that are not present there. And we were discussing with Fatih, with Andrea, with others about either spinning off application life cycle events to a separate standard or making a part of CD events, which seems to be feasible for me. So that we can ensure that all events Keptn needs or produces are actually part of the specification. I mean, that are not specific to Keptn.
Okay, yeah, because part of the requirements I'm gathering is I'm going to speak with them as well and say, because I believe that the specification is only another 4 fields for CD events. So I need to see if it's feasible, if I do the coding, that it can cater for both. I just have to do a bit more research into it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a little bit of work in the Flux because they haven't set it up yet, but I've looked all through the code and I know what I need to do. So I just have to convince them to let me do it.
Basically, you make Flux deliverable for the first part of JSOC and Argo CD for the second. Or do you plan to focus solely on Flux?
Yeah, we've actually technically done the Argo CD integration already. I mean, we can do small features to make it better and easier to use, but a lot of it, Flux is harder because they don't have that capability in yet. So I'm getting Neha to do a lot of the Flux logic around syncing and then talking back to Keptn, and then I'll focus on the big piece of work for Flux. So a lot of it will be focusing on Flux at the moment.
Okay, this is good.
Yeah, it's going really well.
Okay, thank you. So then we should keep working. And for the last project, so customer resource definitions for entities, I guess everything is going well there too. Because I attended the last meeting, so the project is active and there is ongoing development. So we can conclude that all the projects are doing quite well now.
Cool.
And this is good. So thanks to everyone working on them, to contributors, to mentors. We can definitely push some topics around Keptn forward.
And a quick question around that. So I've been spending quite a bit of time with Meha, and we do pair programming, and I do it under my name. Is that a problem if I do the commits under my name, or does it need to be under hers, or it doesn't matter?
No, it doesn't matter. So basically,
Okay,
it's
perfect.
normal when a student participates in a common development environment. So the requirement is that basically the students or the mentor's work should be still available for evaluation. So if you submit some small patches, etc., it's one thing. But if you submit 2/3 of the project, then it becomes difficult.
Yeah. Okay, understood.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else for today?
Not for me.
Good for me. So yeah, I've got some more action items for the documentation to create items. I will try to do them today.
Cool.
Okay, thanks all.
Thanks everybody. Have a great week.
Yeah, Brett, do you have permissions to upload the video to YouTube, or should I do that?
Yeah, I can.
So